The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
How can you not be romantic about Joe Flacco? Bengals win Thursday Night Football.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast.
The Bengals have gotten back into things in the AFC North, not letting the Steelers run away from it. Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers having an absolute spectacle of a time on Thursday Night Football, James. And Joe Flacco playing excellent football, dare I say, an elite Joe Flacco game. Joe Flacco is elite. Is that the answer to the question after all these years? We just had to wait until he was older than 40 and playing for the Bengals. Welcome back, by the way, to the Everydayers and all of you who make us your first listen. This will be a fun one, James.
Yeah. What's not fun about a team that had their backs against the wall, hadn't scored a first half touchdown in 4 games, was outscored 79-9 coming into this, and the game turns in the final 5 minutes of the first half. They own that time. And so for them to get a 33-31 win, one, I think it's season saving. Doesn't mean that they're going to make the most of it moving forward, but it gives them new life. 2-0 in the division. All of the things that we talked about the other day are true. Significant development for the Cincinnati Bengals team to win, for Joe Flacco to play the way he did, for Jamar Chase to continue to play the way he has. By the way, double-digit catches, 100-plus yards with 3 different quarterbacks already. It's week 7. That dude is just insane. Obviously, team records for receptions, targets, and there's a bunch of other things we could talk about with Jamar that we can do. But the story is Joe Flacco to me. I mean, for Joe Flacco to go 31-47 against that defensive front, against that team, and to give the Bengals the advantage and give them the lead, and then have to still lead them back downfield with 2 minutes to go and do it with ease. I'm stealing this from Dan Hoare. Joe Calm just delivers because he was calm, cool, collected, got the Bengals down there so quickly that they had to chill. They had to calm the waters, and Evan McPherson delivered the win. It's just huge win for the Bengals to not just keep to stay interesting, but to keep all of the sights, all of the things that they wanted to accomplish this season. It felt like it went out the door week 2. And tonight was a reminder. Joe Flacco has been a reminder that don't close the door on this Bengals team just yet.
And what resiliency from this team tonight. From 10 down, 20 straight points. The defense throughout the night could hardly get a stop the entire game. But DJ Turner, after giving up a deep ball to DK Metcalf, that's the last I think we heard from DK Metcalf in this game, takes one away from DK Metcalf on the sideline, does DJ Turner. Jordan Battle cleaning up a terrible throw from Aaron Rodgers. It was left way inside that Turner could have also picked off. Turner also had a pass breakout coming off his guy in zone. So Turner continuing his awesome run of play of late, even though he got beat for that one deep ball. And the reason that I bring up the defense that we'll circle back to at some point, either today or this week, because there's work to do on that side of the ball, is that they gave the Bengals those shots early. And despite what the defense did in this game overall, DJ Turner taking that ball away from DK Metcalf for one of the best interceptions you'll see this year. One of the most physical plays from DJ Turner, who gives up like 50 pounds, 30 pounds, some amount of crazy weight. Maybe I'm going a little bit too high with the 50, but a lot of weight to DK Metcalf and a lot of height to DK Metcalf to just muscle that thing out. And then Joe Flacco and the Bengals are able to go steal 3 points at the end of the half before they get the ball back. And that's where they get to the 20 straight. They're able to kind of maintain that 2-score lead for a while in the second half until eventually the Steelers take a lead. Like that, those takeaways helped. That got the Bengals back in the game where they had drops early. They had Chase Brown drop a ball with tons of grass in front of him early in this game. They had Andre Yosevich drop a ball that could have potentially gotten close to or been a first down on a third down play. And despite what they went down with early, and maybe this should have been a sign, because on the very first drive, Joe Flacco converted a 3rd and 14 with an awesome anticipatory pass to T. Higgins. Maybe that should have been a sign for the way the offense was going to go once they found their rhythm. And Flacco did find a rhythm. And Zach Taylor, for all the fire we've put under his seat lately, and I think he remains on a bit of a hot seat, he found a rhythm in this game with Joe Flacco, with the run game. Chase Brown averaging 9.8 yards per carry in this game with 2 explosive runs. What team am I talking about? It was that kind of day for this offense that bounced back from that slow start. And then it was Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown. And heck, even Samaje Perine and Noah Fant and Andre Yosemash, like redeeming themselves for some plays early in some cases, or just otherwise being too much for the Steelers defense to handle.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the Bengals scored on 7 of their final 8 possessions on offense. This is an offense that was just awful. I mean, just awful up until the past 6 quarters. The past 6 quarters, they've been really good. And honestly, the first quarter, so I should take that out, I guess, because the first quarter was bad again. And it was another quarter. You're like, man, they're almost going to go another half without scoring a touchdown. And then the dam broke. And they were able to just keep the pedal on. And Jamar just being so – there aren't many guys with his explosion in NFL history that can turn any play into a touchdown from anywhere on the field, that can also be possession receivers. This dude can be Randy Moss and Wes Welker. Like, he can do all of those things. And that's why, like, Joe Flacco was talking after the game, like, oh, it's just a little out route to Jamar and another out route. And it's so simple, but you don't want to get beat over the top by Jamar. And so that's part of it. His yak was a huge factor in ability to break tackles. T. Higgins put on the Jets. I mean, he got a mushroom. You know, Mario Kart. He catches that ball. He got a mushroom, and it was like a jetpack. He just went into the end zone. I mean, either the Steelers secondary is the slowest secondary in the planet, or T. Higgins hit that jetpack, because that was a heck of a play too. This is just – I don't think you can overstate the significance of this win, because if they had lost, if they don't go down and get that field goal late, and it's 31-30, I promise you all of the negative stuff that was really being said on social media at the start of the game, mm-hmm. all of that turns into a full weekend, turns into all the way up until next week, into the Jets game. Even if they beat the Jets, doesn't matter. It's still going to be there, Like, this win gives the Bengals a chance to change the perception of the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals. And there aren't many wins that can do that when you lose 4 straight the way they lost 4 straight. But this one did that, and it gives them a chance to turn things around, which is a huge, huge development for the home team.
And more importantly, it builds confidence, and maybe that's the changing narrative. It gets them back into the division race instead of 5-1 and 2-4, or 2-5. Being the difference between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's now 3-4 Bengals and 4-2 Steelers. Bengals right where they were last year in week 7, 3-4. And feels like last year in some ways when you think about this defense, but just getting back into the thick of things with the upcoming schedule gives them the ability to build on this. And now we've seen that Joe Flacco, he can actually put up incredible numbers with these guys. He's laughing after the game about how good Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are. He's pulling out the Ryan Finley keeper against the Pittsburgh Steelers all these years later, which I think we called in one of our shows on this channel earlier. I think we joked
about it. Yeah.
I couldn't remember which show it was, but I'm pretty sure it came up.
Maybe it was you and Sands, actually.
It might have been me and Sands. I can't remember. It was a quick week, quick turnaround, a lot going on this week.
What day is it?
But I have no idea. Not a clue. But an awesome win for the Bengals to get right back in to the mix.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
The Steelers went in and lost in Cincinnati 33-31 to the Bengals in a shootout. And we're going to break down several elements of this game, from the offense, the defense, the run defense, the pass defense, everything about it. But there was one part of this defense that was assembled this year for a specific reason that needed to come through in this game, and it did not. And that was its defense when it went man coverage against the Bengals passing game, because it very rarely won. And listen, maybe they'll win other ones. Maybe the next time they play the Bengals, it will work. But that, to me, is the big question that these Steelers must answer on defense. Can this secondary hang with the big boys when they want to go man-to-man in coverage? Because that was a big reason why you swapped Jalen Ramsey or Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. It's a big reason why you went and got Darius Slay. It's why you've been trying to develop Joey Porter Jr. You wanted to have the cornerback room just to come out and say, we can line man-to-man with T. Higgins, with Jamar Chase, with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison, and we can go toe-to-toe with those guys and come out on top. And they'll get us sometimes, but we'll get them back. And in this game, that did not happen nearly enough. Jamar Chase, of course, 16 catches on 23 targets for 161 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins, 6 of 10 for 96 and a touchdown. They were the entirety of the Bengals offense, and really the Bengals team. The Bengals defense didn't do anything really that spectacularly. They caught 2 interceptions. You know, that one interception shouldn't have been an interception because DK Metcalf's hand was on it while he was out of bounds. I don't know how that got missed. But the first interception, Rodgers just made a bad error there. But what drove the entire Bengals offense was really the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and it was the thing that we said going into this game. The Steelers had to limit. They didn't limit it, and I think that it's because their game plan was around, hey, Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter, you're going to take these guys away. You're going to win more often than not against these guys. And you saw early on Joey Porter getting tagged with penalties. So was Jalen Ramsey. I think that they came into this game with an idea of what they wanted to do, and when the Bengals started to win with that, they didn't have a good backup plan, because their plan was to cover in man and then try to switch it to some zones. But Joe Flacco eats zone alive when he gets the chance. And that ended up being a nightmare scenario for this defense. And I think it poses a problem moving forward, because while you will not play teams that have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins type wide receiver combos every week, you will play other teams on your schedule with a really good receiver core. The Packers don't have that next week, but Michael Pittman, if he's healthy with the Colts, could be a problem with the guys they have there. You play the Bengals again in about a month's time in November back in Pittsburgh. Romeo Odunze and DJ Moore and the guys they have with the Bears, the Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameis Williams. There's guys coming, and you got to be prepared. Because if you're not going to be able to win in man coverage against those guys, and that's a big part of what you wanted this defense to be, you got to make some adjustments. You got to switch something up here. Now, again, short week on the road in the division. We know that's the curse of Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. But to me, this was where Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin needed to have this team better, was that they needed to say, hey, this way that we're running our man coverage, forget about it. We're taking these guys away. I personally think when I look at overtime in my covering the Pittsburgh Steelers, the way that they like to approach teams with multiple receiving threats is they'll let you kind of get some yards here and there with a specific wide receiver, and they'll take away another. And the problem was in this game, they didn't take away the other wide receiver. I think that they had a plan that, like, hey, Jamar Chase will get his, but we're going to make it so that T. Higgins and Iosifas and everybody else won't eat. And if we do that and force them to live through Jamar Chase, eventually they'll make the mistake and we'll get the play. And that was the problem in this game. That never came to fruition. T. Higgins had his way. I mean, even on the Eophas deep ball that Joe Flacco connected on, is Darius Slay. Darius Slay is not a vertical guy. You don't want him to run speed, but he was supposed to at least maintain his leverage to just stay in front of the play, and he couldn't do that. And that to me is alarming, because if other teams now see this, as they will when they look at this on tape and they prepare for the Steelers, they're going to go after this too. And a lot of the structure of the blitz makeups of everything the Steelers wanted to do was that they could trust that they could go into man coverage aggressively and win. And some of the times you do have to tip your cap to the other team. Like, for example, the last deep ball to T. Higgins, Jalen Ramsey had great coverage. He pinned him to the sideline. He ran with him step for step. Joe Flacco just threw the perfect ball, and T. Higgins went and found it. Jalen Ramsey, got beat there. That's okay. But there were other instances where they needed to be in better situations. And it's something that harkens back to something that I thought I saw in week 1 that I wasn't sure if it was going to continue to be a thing. And it really hadn't been a thing for about a month. But now I think it's reared its ugly head again. And I think it's that the Steelers secondary is given a lot more liberties to not have traditional coverage leverage in certain situations, because a lot of them are veteran or experienced guys, and they're trying to set up something else. They're trying to set up the mistake. They're trying to, and I noted this against the Jets, where I thought Jalen Ramsey was letting receivers, and I think also against the Seahawks as well, but Jalen Ramsey would let guys get in front of him, and then he played trail technique to try to jump the pass. I think that happened a lot in this game. Now, I have to go back and watch the tape. I don't think that's it, but I think if Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin are going to take this defense forward, and unless they say, hey, you know what, our guys got beat in this game, they won't get beat the next time we do this. Okay, that's betting on your boys. But I think what needs to come out of this is they need to have a different approach to how they're running man defense, especially against teams with playmakers like this on offense, because those other teams will be coming down the line. And to me, that's the biggest question for the Steelers, for Mike Tomlin, for Joey Porter, for Jalen Ramsey, for Terrell Austin, for everybody involved. You have to be able to win those types of matchups when this is a pillar that you're built on. And we'll get to the run defense in a minute too, because that's also a big problem in this. And Cam Hayward had some very strong words about this after the game, and I want to get to that. But to me, a big part of what they wanted to, how they structurally changed the defense. We talked about how this is a Blitzburg defense again. They're bringing the heat. And we got to see their blitz rate for this game. But I thought that they brought plenty of heat, and the ball was getting out quick and going to certain guys. This needed to be a game where you just said, hey, Jalen, I know you want to play off leverage, or you want to play outside leverage and work this here, but we need you to play inside leverage the entire play, jam this guy, give him a hard time, and make Joe Flacco hold on to the ball for 5-6 seconds to give our pass rush time to get home. And I just feel like the Steelers didn't do that enough. And there were a couple times they did it, and they did it well. The field goal that they held them to in the fourth quarter, where Jalen Ramsey broke up that pass in the end zone, that was really good man coverage. That was basically what we're talking about here. Joey Porter had a couple plays like that, but it wasn't enough. And I think that there's a lot of grace given to these guys, and not a lot of grace, a lot of there's the expectation that these guys are going to be able to still play at that level where they can be given the luxury to make their own calls, where they're going to back off a guy on a certain play or play up on another play or give outside leverage here because I think I can force this. I think that there might be a time to say, if you're Terrell Austin or Mike Tomlin, saying, hey guys, we know that you think you can do this, but right now we need you to be able to do this part of the game. That's take away the slant. Like when they were on those slants, the Steelers, I thought needed to be, in man coverage. But when they were in man coverage, people were saying, oh, they're not going to man coverage because they're scared. They were going to man coverage. The problem was they were just getting flat up beat. And that's what you can't allow to happen. You be physical at the start of the play, cut off, take away the inside, force them to live on the outside, and eventually and take with that what it gives you. I think that if the Steelers had done that more, the defense might have had a better day. But that to me could be an Achilles heel moving forward if other teams see it and the Steelers don't address it. And when I say address it, I mean by like doing these things, saying, hey, we're gonna change how we run these things. We're gonna switch up the way that we go about putting on man coverage and trying to run with guys on the shorter passes and the quicker passes. That's got to be a task. Now, fortunately for the Steelers, they get 10 days rest. They get to, lick their wounds over the weekend and get ready for a big game against the Packers. And the Packers aren't a team with superb wide receiver talent, but they still have good wide receiver talent. So they'll get a chance to kind of get their stuff back together. But to me, this loss could be a sign that comes back to kill them later in the year if they do not figure out better ways to run man coverage when they want to be aggressive, when they want to take away certain guys, and not just getting abused by highly talented receivers. So I think that's a big story out of this game. But another big story is how the run game allowed 108 yards to Chase Brown on 11 carries, the most rushing yards on the season for him, and a big game for a team that was averaging 56 yards on the ground per game going into Thursday night.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
A battle between two teams who are pretty banged up, and whoever can come out on top will be atop of the AFC.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The winner of this game will be the number one team in the AFC record-wise. I mean, the Colts are the last of the one-loss teams. Chargers undefeated in the conference. The Colts undefeated in the conference, both undefeated in their own divisions for now. And this is a big one. Chargers luckily at home for this game. Somehow favored for this game, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. But Zach, what's up, man? Got to be a very, very exciting time for you.
Oh yeah, very exciting. I mean, who would have thought the Colts would be at 5-1? Who would have thought you guys would be at your record with the injuries you've gone through as well? So we're both riding highs right now into this game, and hopefully, well, at least on my side, hopefully we continue riding our high, and you guys have to rebound after that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't think when the Chargers, when I saw the schedule that I didn't know if it would be an easy game per se, especially with Jonathan Taylor and the worries I've always had about their run defense. But I didn't think they'd be playing the number one team in the AFC when Week 7 rolled around. But Crossover Thursday is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I know the Chargers injuries have been well, listed, and there's so many of them, so many important players. But the Colts kind of have, on the defensive side of the ball especially, have their own injury issues. And, as the Chargers are on tackles 5 and 6 last week, the Colts are on corners, 7, 8, 9, whatever the case may be. But going into this matchup, Zach, what do you think would you say is the biggest story for the Colts going in?
Yeah, it's just health right now is the biggest thing for the Colts. If I had to give an auxiliary one, it's can the Colts offense keep it up on the road at the dominance they've done at home. But right now, it really is the health. I mean, the Colts are coming into this game, like you mentioned, down 7th, 8th, 9th corners. I mean, we got guys like Jonathan Edwards, Chris Lamons, and Mekhi Blackman likely to start at corner in this game. And I want Chargers fans listening, heck, even Colts fans listening, to tell me if you've heard those names before I just mentioned, before I mentioned them here. So the Colts cornerback room is in dire straits. They've had a lot of turnover at linebacker as well. They do have Jermaine Pratt and Zaire Franklin now, but they've already cut 2 guys who were linebacker 2 and 3 coming into the year because of their play. And then on the offense side of the ball, it looks like Josh Downs might not be playing this week as well with concussion. So potentially down Josh Downs. Charvarius Ward, the best overall player on our defense, probably doesn't play this week. A couple other guys missing too for the Colts. Their kicker was knocked out for the year 2 weeks ago, and we'll see if that ever comes back to bite them. So maybe it's not as dire as the Chargers, where the Chargers have the CVS receipt of injuries right now, and they're down to, I think I'm going to go try out for the Chargers tackle position after we get off the show here. But, it is pretty banged up team right now. Kind of the state of the NFL usually come week 6, week 7, week 8 is everyone's banged up, and you just got to find a way to win despite that.
Yeah, and I mean, to the Chargers' credit, at least last week they were able to do that, right? I mean, they played a bad team, but the injuries are the ultimate equalizer, and it was a close game for that purpose. And I mean, I think for the Chargers, especially with their offensive line, something that was always going to be kind of under the microscope anyways going into the season. Now you lose, your best tackle in Rashawn Slater. Now your all-pro kind of level left tackle over the first 3 weeks. Joe Alt goes down with a high ankle sprain. He did not practice on Wednesday. His status, I would say, is very much in doubt. I would be surprised if Joe Alt or even Trey Pipkins would play. Those are your second and third best tackles for the Chargers. Obviously, the Colts are missing, several cornerbacks, because if Kenny Moore was playing, if Charvarius Ward was playing, that's a different team. Like that, that's not something that is easily as exploitable. But now I think what the story for this game is, at least on that side for each team, is just like, can the Chargers keep Justin Herbert upright long enough to take advantage of that? Because you're right, I had only heard of Mekhi Blackman from scouting him at USC a couple years ago. Outside of that, I've never heard of those other guys, which I don't think many Colts fans have probably heard of, Austin Deculus, maybe just because he's was in the AFC South, but he was not a starter for a bad Texans offensive line. And then Bobby Hart basically was on the street the last couple of years. They could get Jamari Sawyer back to play probably right tackle. I wouldn't say that's like a huge boost or something that's going to change the trajectory. Right now, it's looking like the Chargers, once again, are going to have a very quick style of offense and really try to game plan around what they're missing. And that's been what it is, which is just a limited offense. Like that, if you want to keep Justin Herbert healthy, you kind of have to run the offense a certain way when you're missing those guys. I'd say the biggest thing here, Zach, is the ability for Khalil Mack to come back. They just activated his window. He's missed 4 games with a dislocated elbow and just kind of a freak injury against his former team in the Raiders. Denzel Perryman, who is a very physical run defender with liabilities and coverage, I'm almost positive he's going to be back this week. Full participant in the last 2 practices last week, full participant on Wednesday this week. That will be an impact player for the Chargers, especially getting Jonathan Taylor and a very physical team coming to town. It's not the Khalil Mack impact, though. And for most players, coming back that first week where you activate the window and it's like, okay, we'll get his feet wet, but we're probably not going to play him. You can't guarantee that with Khalil Mack. And I think why that's so important for this matchup is because where have the Chargers been getting killed? On the edge. It's keeping contained. It's not having that super physical edge setter. And like you look at the Commanders, 2 untouched touchdowns rushing on the ground, just running to the left side, getting outside, and nobody's there. And another couple last week where you have big chunk plays. If Khalil Mack can play, not that it fixes the Chargers' run defense, but the last 3 weeks, the Chargers have given up at least 137 yards on the ground, 3 weeks in a row, and 2 of those games were over 160. The kind of common denominator there, Khalil Mack's been gone. So I think that is kind of the one injury hanging over this game where it's like, man, if he could come back, not that the Chargers shut down the Colts rushing attack by any means, but maybe they don't get pummeled by it, and I think that would be huge.
Yeah, no, I think that you're 100% there. That's the most important injury to watch this week because, look, Downs and Ward likely aren't going to play. We don't really have to monitor those. Joe Alt's probably not going to play. We don't have to monitor that. But Khalil Mack will be the big one to watch throughout the week because this Colts rushing attack has killed teams this year. Jonathan Taylor leads the NFL in rushing. Last week alone against the Arizona Cardinals, who were a pretty good run defense coming into that game, the Colts averaged nearly 8 yards per carry running to the left side of the defense behind Quentin Nelson pulling out in front, Tanner Bordolini, the young center, finding his way, Bernhard Ryman, a highly paid left tackle, doing some great things. For all the injuries the Colts have had, their offensive line is very healthy, and Quentin Nelson's playing the best football of his Hall of Fame career right now, which is scary to say. So if you're not going to have Khalil Mack, you got to be prepared for Quentin Nelson leading the way in front of Jonathan Taylor there on that left side. And it could be a lot for your defense. So that, and also the Colts have only allowed 5 sacks through 6 games so far. Daniel Jones has the lowest pressure to sack ratio in the NFL among all quarterbacks. So Khalil Mack not only is the run defender, but just getting some pressure on Daniel Jones. Pressure creates problems for offenses. The Colts' lone game this year where they haven't scored, over 29 points in this game this year has come against the Los Angeles Rams when Jared Verse and Byron Young completely decimated the Colts offensive line. So if you want to beat this Colts offense, you got to get pressure up front. Getting a Khalil Mack would be huge for the Chargers, but if you don't have him and your run defense suffers and you're not able to rush the passer, this Colts offense that is averaging almost 33 points per game is going to be able to get theirs on that side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it does feel like a game the Chargers are going to have to put up 30, truly offensively. And I do think that you're right. It is a double-edged sword. Like, you get him back for that edge setting containment type of play, but you also get him as a pass rusher. And not only that, you could, for the first time this year, unleash your trio of pass rushers and have 3 guys you feel pretty good about after the Odafe Owe trade. You have Tuli Tuipulotu, now you have Odafe Owe. It's good to have those guys because you have 2 capable edge defenders. It's a lot different when Khalil Mack's back, and now you have a trio of guys that were, even if some guys, need a spell, have to get off the field for a few snaps, you have someone that's able to get in there and be able to hold the line and hold their end of the rope. And I think that pass rush wise, run defense wise, they're equally important because, that's the thing about the Colts. They're about middle of the pack as far as team pressure allowed. The difference has been, to your point, Daniel Jones being able to really limit how many of those pressures turn into sacks. And kind of an underrated storyline for the Chargers this year has been the inability to get those kind of quarterbacks on the ground. So I think that is a big one